Hi, I'm Milla and welcome to Milla's Game Room video. It's finally time for me to talk about my top 10 Nintendo Switch JRPGs as of the making of this video in 2024. So, I've played through tons of Switch stuff, got a lot to talk about, all these games I love and treasure a lot, so it's time to finally, well, hopefully you'll find something else to love from this list as well, and maybe check out for yourself.
Number 10. The Atelier Dust Trilogy. Starting with a sub-series from Gust's vast Atelier franchise, the Dust Trilogy covers 3 games, Atelier Aisha, Escher & Logi, and Shally. This expanded re-release features great quality of life features, all prior DLC, and an English-Asian physical release exclusive to the Nintendo Switch version. Thus, this remaster package is the way to go. As for the games themselves, while all 3 Dust titles are great, Escher & Logi is my favourite in part due to the dynamics and light otome game elements between the antagonists Escher and Logi. The alchemy is addicting, the music is gorgeous, and the world building, while light, is memorable too. It's a light-hearted, relaxing experience overall, and I really appreciate what it's set out to do. Another reason I love the Dust trilogy is that you play through a time capsule of Gust's history, as you move from the more stressful time mechanics from the PS3 era Arlen trilogy towards the removal of time limits associated with the later titles. While I'm aware both the Mysterious and Riser trilogies, which came later, are more accessible, I'll always have a soft spot for the characters introduced in the world of Dusk, and I hope you do too. Number 9. Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Ys 8 was a breakout hit for Falcom in the West, partly because it was their debut title on a Nintendo platform in 12 years. And what a debut title this is! In this title, Adult and Co are shipwrecked on the mysterious Isle of Siren and must find a way off the island. It soon turns into an action-packed epic to save the world, finding the mysterious truth behind fellow antagonist Dana, all while working together to find your fellow castaways and secure their safety. The gameplay is simple to understand and easy to get into, as par with the other Ys games. The simple, action RPG gameplay is accompanied by one of the best JRPG soundtracks of all time as you traverse sandy beaches, squalid caverns, and mysterious jungles. There's so much more to Ys 8 than it seems on the surface, and that's why it's still memorable for me many years later. The Switch version does have some technical issues though, which is why it's lower on this list, but I definitely recommend tracking down a copy and checking it out. Number 8. Fire Emblem Engage. A belated 30th anniversary title to celebrate this iconic franchise, Fire Emblem Engage has you play the role of Aaliyah, the chosen one who must go out and defeat the Dark Dragon. This is a simple story that works well to drive the title along. While some people were disappointed with the lack of story, which is fair, I personally was quite happy with it, especially because the characters themselves were really fun to interact with, even those with anime tropes that you're not a fan of. Additionally, Fire Emblem Engage has one of the best gameplay systems I've ever played in a strategy RPG. It's Fire Emblem at its best, easy to understand, difficult to master, and so much fun, especially as maps later in the game become increasingly complex. Returning Emblem characters from the previous games in the series are a treat, and are integrated into the gameplay well. It's such a fun game with fantastic presentation, and is easily one of the best strategy RPGs on the Switch, and is easily one of my favourite RPGs on the platform. Number 7. Persona 4 Golden. I've always had a soft spot for Persona 4 Golden. It was one of my first Atlus games, and like many of you, is why I bought a PlayStation Vita back in the day. Now Atlus have finally accepted reality and ported their games to multiple platforms, Persona 4 Golden is now better than ever. This game is an interesting peek into Persona's past, before Persona 5 became a mega hit. Even on its own merits, Persona 4's characters are memorable and interesting, the story will truly stick with you long after the runtime's finished, and the stylized presentation also holds up today. Given this is an old game with no physical release outside of limited run games, I can't rank it any higher than number 7, especially because Atlus have no valid reason not to release this game at retail. Additionally, some of the LGBT representation is dated, which, while was good back then, has aged poorly by modern standards. Regardless, I love this game so much despite its flaws, and if you haven't played it yet, the Switch version is a great option. I did a video on this one a while back upon the Switch re-release, go check it out if you want. Number 6. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torna the Golden Country. We've finally made it to the first Xenoblade game on this list, so you know the quality of the games will continue to improve. Xenoblade 2 was my first Xenoblade game, which I initially didn't vibe with as its gameplay is kinda hard to get into. However, when I returned to the game months after I first played it, the gameplay just clicked and Xenoblade 2 became a truly engrossing experience. This is because the world building and character development are fantastic. This is greatly helped by an incredible soundtrack, which I still listen to sometimes. Additionally, the last few chapters easily form one of the most epic climaxes I've ever played in a video game. finishing this adventure is so satisfying and is easily a highlight. Then there's Torna, the Golden Country, which is a standalone prequel to the main game. You must play Torna to fully appreciate the main story in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and vice versa. Plus, Jin is also one of the best JRPG villains, with his character arc easily being the highlight of Torna and by extension Xenoblade 2. I highly recommend both games. Number 5. Harvestella. Wow, another JRPG YouTuber ranking Harvestella as one of their top Switch games? Surprise, surprise! Well, that's because it is worth a spot on this list. This is a future cult classic action RPG with farming sim elements weaved throughout it. In this title, you play as an amnesiac protagonist who is given a farm to look after and is tasked with investigating the mysterious phenomenon called quietus. This game is so much deeper and complex than people give it credit for. The story really goes places you wouldn't expect. The NPCs and their side quests tell very deep, explorative stories and really help bring this world to life. This is why doing the side quests throughout Harvestella is essential to fully appreciate and understand the world. Additionally, Go Shina's soundtrack is really underrated. I really hope we haven't seen the last of this franchise because Harvestella has so much potential. Even an enhanced port to fix many of this game's flaws would go a long way. This game is the very definition of a flawed masterpiece. Number 4. The Legend of Heroes Crossbell Arc. Yep, I'm cramming 3 Trails titles into one position. Can I do that? Yes, because it's my video. This portion of the Trails series is set in Crossbell, and although small in size, is mighty in world building and character development. It's the best paced arc in the entire Trails series, with Azure having another one of the best climaxes I've ever played in a video game. You really do come to care about the fate of this tiny city-state and all the political intrigue that surrounds it, and this is why it's easily the best arc across the entire Trails series. Even though these games are ports of PSP titles, the English Switch version contains exclusive graphical, gameplay and other audio enhancements that make it superior to the PS4 version, hence why I've ranked these games so highly. If you're looking for 2 unforgettable RPGs, this is a good pick. And as for why Reverie is here, well, Reverie is basically a third Crossbell game in so many ways, as it weaves in various characters and plot threads from Crossbell as well as the other Sky and Cold Steel arcs, and even teasing some upcoming plot threads for Trails Through Daybreak, and it's absolutely glorious. It's easily one of the best crossover RPGs of all time, as these characters all come together to show what makes the Trails series so amazing. But do play Zero, Azure and the Cold Steel games before Reverie so you can follow this epic tale to its end. In fact, speaking of the Cold Steel games, before I move into my top 3, I'm going to touch on some honourable mentions, as these games all missed out on the spot for many different reasons. The first 2 are The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4, as Cold Steel 4 has some of the most hype moments in gaming I've ever played, which is well worth the mammoth playtime this series demands, filler and questionable plot choices included. Cold Steel 3 in particular does have some technical issues on Switch alongside poor pacing, but not both these games off the list. Although Cold Steel 4 does run well, and as mentioned, the peaks easily outdo the troughs. Just be sure to play through at least Cold Steel 1 and 2 before jumping into them. East 9 Monster Nox is another fantastic Falcom RPG. It's an oddity in the East series as it sacrifices breadth for depth, so you explore this city in such intimate detail that you don't normally explore in action RPGs. This game really does deliver some fantastic action sequences alongside the usual fantastic world building, although it doesn't run the best on Switch though, so I wouldn't recommend playing it on Switch if possible, but I played it on Switch so you might not care about the technical stuff. Etrian C3 HD, fantastic game, remaster of the third Etrian game. I did a full video on this title, so go check it out. Shin Megami Tensei 5 would also have been on here too, but then the Vengeance release got announced, so I'm going to replay that at some point as that version basically revamps the whole game, so I'll reconsider adding SMT5 to my list after I've played through Vengeance at some point. The base release though is fantastic though, so it's highly likely Vengeance will be even better. With all that said and done, let's move on to my top 3. Number 3, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Starting right away with another viable entry point into a particular franchise, we have the first Xenoblade Chronicles game. This game takes place in a captivating world, on the back of 2 massive titans over vast blue seas. Xenoblade Chronicles tells the story of Shulk as he goes out to rescue Fiora, who is kidnapped by the evil Mechonis who invade their colony. The world of Xenoblade is so vast you could spend hours exploring it through a variety of locales, while meeting interesting characters, completing tons of side quests, and follow a gripping story to its conclusion. This title originally came out on the Nintendo Wii, and despite not turning a profit back in the day, grew a cult following over time, especially thanks to the Operation Rainfall campaign. Definitive Edition is the way to play it nowadays, with revamped graphics, a lower difficulty setting, a rearranged soundtrack, and the all-new future-connected epilogue chapter, which connects Xenoblade 1 to other titles in the series. I cannot recommend this game enough, especially now it's so much more accessible. Number 2, Dragon Quest XI-S, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. When Nintendo first debuted information on the Switch back in January 2017, Dragon Quest XI, the then newest mainline entry in the iconic Dragon Quest franchise, was the most anticipated game, even though it wouldn't come out on the Nintendo Switch for many years. However, the wait was so worth it. Dragon Quest XI has you play the role of a luminary, a man who needs to go out and face his destiny. This title is role-playing gaming at its core, with an easy to understand battle system, a fantastic story, a rarity for the Dragon Quest franchise, up there with Dragon Quest V and VIII, beautiful graphics, awesome quality of life features, and so much more. It's one of a handful of RPGs I've spent over 100 hours on, because it's just that good, especially once you get into Act 3, where the game becomes somewhat open world as you're free to explore the world almost entirely at your own pace. And this is before referencing the various content that was incorporated from the Nintendo 3DS version only released in Japan, such as the 2D mode. Dragon Quest XI is easily one of the best games available on the Switch, one of the best Dragon Quest games of all time, and one of the best JRPGs released in recent years across all genres and platforms. It's quite a relaxing experience, and is a good title for series newcomers too. If you love JRPGs or gaming history, you owe it to yourself to check out Dragon Quest XI. And finally, at number 1, which probably won't surprise a lot of you, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Future Redeemed. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a cherry on top of an epic trilogy of games. Set in Ionios, a world trapped in endless conflict, the antagonists Noah, Mio and their friends must join forces to free the world from this conflict. Xenoblade 3's story gets so much deeper and more complex than this initial summary, which is greatly helped by you meeting all 6 of your core party members within the opening hours, allowing ample time for character development. This game fixes the lingering flaws from the previous 2 Xenoblade titles, creating an incredible, near seamless open world experience with a fantastic story that features characters, themes and locations from prior Xenoblade titles on a massive map, alongside a mountain of side content. You can literally spend dozens of hours on side content by itself, alongside exploring the map, which is something I very much did. The battle system is so much easier to get into, with unique Ouroboros class customization system allowing you to plan for deep strategies in battle. This game is amazing, and I love it so much, when only made even better with Future Redeemed, which fully ties together the narrative from all 3 Xenoblade games. It's easily my favourite RPG on the Switch, and I doubt it's going to get topped anytime soon. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. What are your favourite Nintendo Switch RPGs? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Oh, and before anyone says so in the comments, I haven't played any of the Team Asano games yet, so no Octopath, no Triangle Strategy. I've just not played them, so that's why none of them are here. I also haven't played Fire Emblem Three Houses yet, although I do want to get around to that soon. In the future, I'll likely make an updated version of this list once I've played some more titles, including those ones and more, so stay tuned for that. If you want to support the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, consider becoming a channel member and or super chatting if you can afford to and want to do so. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.